Hey, welcome to the Secrets of Scale podcast. I'm Troy Erickson, the host, and today I'm joined by a very special guest who has become a friend of mine over the last 6 to 9 months. And a year ago, I never really thought that he would end up on a podcast with me, or let alone that I'd be able to talk to him, because he sold about $350 million worth of stuff. He owns learn.com. He is probably one of the bigger gurus in our space, but he doesn't really choose to be seen as that. He'd rather just give back and talk more about his charity, which is at singal.org. And today he's joining us very generously to talk about all the things he's done really well within marketing that are very nitty gritty, as well as some ways that he's been humbled in the past and some awesome lessons that he has to share. So I am honored to welcome Anik Singal.
Hey man, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here. And before we even get started, you talked a little bit about our journey getting to know each other. I gotta give you kudos, man. In the last 20 years, you are in definitely the top two or three people I've watched build your brand from not being in the industry to now being like a recurring name that shows up every day. And you did it in a span of a year. And you did it with a topic that, quite frankly, if you told me before, I would have never said you could do it. So I'm really impressed with what you've done, your agency, and how you're building your brand and how you're getting out there. I just wanted to take a minute to really make sure your audience knows it too. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, thank you so much. It really means a lot coming from you, and it's been a super fun ride so far. And I think we actually got connected through Dan Lehman,
We
who,
did.
yeah, he's worked with you for a long time, and he was very generous and introduced us. So that is much appreciated. So I've read a little bit about you before. I've talked to you a handful of times. But for anybody who's listening, could you tell us a little bit about how the heck you got into this whole internet marketing space?
Oh man, yeah, I can. It's funny because I have to tell the story shortly because it's an interesting one. I think in some ways it's very similar to how people get into the industry today, but in some ways it's so different. So I got in. I did my first Google search 21 years ago. It's so crazy to say that 2 decades have passed. I was in college. Okay, so I was first studying to be a doctor, so I was pre-med, and that ended very quickly because within the first few weeks I was like, "What the heck did I just do?" Right? So I'm very open about this, guys. I'm Indian, so we're Indian. Go to a hospital and tell me what you see. We become doctors. That's what we do. It's our community. That's what we hold the most esteem, respect. And as a young kid, I looked around. That's who had the nicest houses, biggest cars. I mean, biggest houses, nicest cars. So I once I exited that, I'm like, well, what do I really want to do? And I just kept feeling like I like business. I've always been drawn to it. Even as a kid, I kept launching little gigs here and there, and I started studying. So I did this very, very painful and disruptive change. Right, I was on a full ride at a university to become a doctor. I was being recruited by my freshman year of college. I was being recruited for med school by Harvard and Stanford and all these other places. I had to leave all that behind to go into this world of business school, which, by the way, no scholarship. My dad has to pay a full amount now. No security in life. No one in my family does business. My parents were amazing, but I'm nervous. Then I get to like business school now, a year and a half later, because it took me that long to make the switch, and I realized I hated my classes. And now this is when I was really scared. I thought I'm going to be seriously, I'm going to be a bum in my parents' basement. Um, and I know I figured out. I went into this massive reflective mode, man. This is before I understood meditation or any of that. I just one night was like in my dorm room and I'm like, we're going to figure this out. What's going on? Why am I so unhappy? So one thing I want everyone to take away from listening to me right now is being unhappy and unfulfilled is not okay. I'm looking you dead in the eyes and I'm telling you that is not how life should be. You should not be on a track where you do not see the light at the end of the tunnel. You should not be on a track that you don't feel fulfilled at the end. Now, you may have bad days. You may have unfulfilling days, but your journey should never be unfulfilling. And for me, I was unhappy, unfulfilled, not hopeful for the future. And as a young person, I decided to sit down that night and I said, I won't allow this to continue. So I'm going to reflect. What do I need? Quiet time one night. And I realized my problem was college. My problem was going to class and theoretically figuring out what I might do in the future for someone else. This is ridiculous. There's no hope in that for me. I wanted to do. I was ready. I was hungry. It was the statement of put me in, coach. You know, like I want to play. I don't want to sit on the sidelines and only play during practice. I want to play for real. So that was when so now the thing is I have like $100 to my name, so it's great that I want to play. I don't have any money to go buy a McDonald's franchise or anything like that, right? So I turned to Google, and this is what I typed in. I said, how to make money. and Google auto-filled, and by the way, Google back then was like a year old, okay? How to make money, and Google auto-filled online. And I thought, online? Huh, sure. And I hit submit. And that took me down a journey of envelope stuffing scams. I didn't do any of them, but I saw all this crap. Finally found a forum called Ablake. May it rest in peace. I wish it was still here today. It was more of a chat board. That became my home for the next 18 months. And I was incessant. I spent 7 hours a day. I would read every thread. I would post messages, ask questions. 18 months. And that, oh, by the way, what I loved about that forum was all about selling information. Well, being a college kid who spends thousands of dollars on textbooks, I understood education. I understood spending money on education. So it made sense. It finally wasn't like envelope stuffing and all this nonsense. It felt like, yeah, I get it. You make a PDF, you upload it to ClickBank, you make some ads, and you sell. Like, I can do this. Yeah, well, I failed left, right, front, back, again and again and again and again, 18 months. Till this day, people ask me, why'd you keep going? I have no idea, except for one. I only have one answer I can think of, which is my second message I want everyone on this podcast to listen to, and that is, I was failing a lot, but damn, I was having fun. Like every day I was learning something new, I was trying something new. I could see, like, you know when you're building Legos, it's frustrating, right? Because it's like little intricate pieces, you're looking for the piece, you can't find the piece, then you convince yourself the company never put the piece in the box to begin with, and then you finally find the piece. But the whole time, you can see the picture of what you're building. You know, if I just put this work in, this is what I'm gonna get out of it. And that's what I said. Your journey could be tough, but the fulfillment should be there. So this 18 months, although I was failing again and again, I felt like I was building a piece, like a Lego set, because I could see the end picture. I just knew I'm going through the tough. That's the only answer I can think of. Took 18 months, and finally when I got someone to help me and show me, I was ready to quit. I went down to my last 24 hours. I posted on the chat board, I'm quitting, not for me, I'm sorry everybody, I can't make it work. An unknown, unnamed angel showed up on that chat board to help me, and within the next 24 hours, I made my first $300 thanks to the support they gave me. Then they disappeared. I till this day don't know who that person was. That was just kind of their thing. I'm convinced it was an angel. And I've never, ever, ever, one day, Troy, not even had one day, that's been now 19 years ago, I have not had even one day where I made less than $300 since that moment. It's crazy to think that.
That's amazing. I'm happy you shared that. So what was a bit of advice that that person gave you? Did it have to do with something very specific and nitty gritty, or was it more of a mindset thing?
No, it was very tactical. So, you know, on this chat board that I used to be on, you could have a signature file, and I never used to use it. And that signature file, you can have a link, you can put whatever message you want, and links to traffic. Now, at that time, on the chat board, I used to post a lot, but I used to help a lot too. So there was a traffic software, it was total black hat SEO. It was called Traffic Equalizer, okay? And I had gotten pretty good at it, okay? So I had gotten good at installing Traffic Equalizer on a server, making it work, getting traffic from it. I'd helped a few clients, made $100 here, $50 here. So I used to sit on that chat board helping people. That was my way of giving back to the chat, because I used to seriously blow everyone up. Marlon Sanders used to be on the chat board too. He's like one of the few that remembers me from it, and he jokingly says, "You were annoying as heck on that chat board." And I'm like, I take that with great pride. I was curious, I was hungry. But I was also trying to give back, so I would always answer people's questions, right? To the point where even the founder of the software would be like, "Yo, Anik's got you. Like, I don't feel like answering this question. Anik will answer it." So this person gave me this advice. He said, "Listen, you're helping everyone, but you're helping them for free. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to write a review page. We're going to take," he goes, "What are the top questions people ask you about using this software?" I was like, "Oh, it's easy. Boom, 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 boom." He's like, "Great. Can you write that on one page?" I said, "Yeah." "And can you write the answers to those?" I said, "Yeah." And I used to use a site a software called Microsoft Front Page to build my websites back then. This is really dating me. People hated on that software, and it got retired by Microsoft. I loved it. I thought it was like a godsend for me. So easy to build web pages with it. So I made an ugly page. I put a headline. I put some questions. And you know what I did at the bottom? I just said, "Hey, if you want my personal, undivided support and attention, I'll install the software for you. I'll support it for you. I'll get it working for you. That's my free bonus just for buying it through my link." It was $150 software, and I'll make $75. And that's what I was charging people to install it for them. I was like, oh, this is cool. I'll make that. So I ended up adding a bonus to an affiliate offer before I even knew what the heck that was. And I even went as far as saying this: I'll give you my cell phone number. You can call me anytime, even if I'm in class. I'll leave and answer your questions. And I still remember the next morning I woke up, and so he said, now what we're going to do is before you go to sleep tonight, you're going to answer a bunch of questions on this forum and use this signature link. And so I want you to go and answer 50 questions if you can, just randomly. We're trying to get this link into as many chat threads as we can. So all right. So I did that, and I woke up the next morning. First of all, I'd made my first $300. It was like $350 while I slept. I'd never done that before. It baffled me. And I woke up because my cell phone was ringing. And it was this guy named Greg Caesar, who's today one of my closest friends. I mean, I know his whole family. He came to my wedding. And I picked up the phone, and he's like, yo, is this really you? Is this real? Like, and you got to know Greg to know like how he talks. It's just funny. And I'm like, who is this? He's like, this is Greg. I read your page. Is this legit? And I remember thinking, holy crap, it worked. Like someone got an email, had my phone number in it, and is calling me. Man, it just so became real for me that day. It really did. And that was what we did that night. And I then went and did it a lot for like a bunch of affiliate programs. Started buying traffic from Google to my review page. Then Google one day slapped the crap out of me, and I lost 50 grand a month in income. And then another mentor came in and said, you idiot, you didn't build an email list that whole time. See how Google ripped you of all your business? And that was the second big evolution of my mindset, where I realized, what is this email thing? And who would have thought 19 years later, that's still the number one thing I do is email. Because again, no one can take your email list from you. They can take all your social media, but they can't take that.
Yeah, it's great to hear how you got started, because I feel like a lot of people don't realize that the real way to get started, especially if you're serving clients, is literally just to give value. And people hear the word value and they're not sure what it means, but it's literally what Anik just said. So if you're listening and you're not sure, if you can just go in forums in any platform, or it's an actual forum or Facebook or any other like social network where there's people engaging with each other, and you just help them and answer their questions and make them go, that person is smart. That is one of the fastest ways that I got started. That's one of the fastest ways that Anik got started. And it's really amazing to hear that there's so many people using.
Yeah, if I can interrupt, just to build on what you said, anyone who's listening, all right, I'm going to give you a 2-week challenge. If you do it right, man, like a 99% chance you're going to make money, okay? But you got to be willing to do the work. Go to Facebook, enroll in some groups. For the next 2 weeks, incessantly make posts of value. Give some value, okay? Whatever niche or topic you want. And everybody who comments under your post of value, friend them. And when they add you back, message them. Don't pitch them anything. Just say, hey, it's Anik. I saw you had commented back under my thing. So glad we could connect here. I'm trying to build a group of friends who love the same things I do. If I can ever be of any service to you, let me know. That's it. Do that for 2 weeks. Tell me you don't close your first $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 deal.
That's awesome. Guaranteed. I 100% agree. That's so cool to hear that you're in the same belief system. I love it. So you got into email after this, and by the way, it sounds like that was the first moment where you were humbled and lost $50,000 a month in income. So now you're like, all right, should have built an email list. What did you do next?
Yeah, so I changed the game, and I've started learning. So right around that time, there was this site that was blowing up called Double Your Dating, doubleyourdating.com, by David D'Angelo, who I eventually got to become friends with and met, and it was Eben Pagan, right? So, but David D'Angelo back then was running, and this is 20 years ago. This is super impressive, right? This is 19 years ago. He was running a $20 million a year business selling dating guides. Okay, now I was a college guy, so that was interesting, right? And I honestly, it's so funny too. Side story: I bought all his stuff because I was actually hacking his funnel, and it came to my house, and I never opened it because I wasn't really trying to buy the stuff. And do you know who found it years later? My wife. So we were moving from the condo to the house, so we were like cleaning up everything, throwing things out, and she finds like this big stack of like double your dating guides and like how to talk to women and how to get in bed with. It was so offensive. Like I'm looking at it later, I'm like, what the heck? Here's what saved me though. It was still in its saran wrap. It had never been opened. So I was like, so she bought my story where I was like, I swear to God, I was just, but it was a funny side story. But here's the point. So someone told me this guy does 20 million. It sent me doubleyourdating.com, the site, and I went to it and I'm like, no way. It was the ugliest page, Troy. It was this big. It was a little square. Okay, it was a little teeny square with like a little headline. And you put your email address on. I'm like, the heck is this? Because I don't think it should be glamorous. It should be well branded. And they're like, trust me. Okay, so I said, all right. And in that meantime, David D'Angelo is coming to the internet marketing world to teach stuff. So I knew it's legit. I opt in. Then it showed me it was like a multi-step to a sales page. And I thought it was stupid, but then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm still reading. I'm on page 4. I am engaged. I'm like, shit, this works, right? So I went and put up I used the same ugly yellow he had. I used the same font style he had. What I did is I hit save as, imported the page into front page, changed the words, threw it up. Dude, 60, 70% conversions on it. My mind was blown. I was building an email list so fast just from the signature file link in the chat board. But and in the meantime, I think I started doing some solo ads. Back then, solo ads were still a lot more higher quality than they are today. So I started building up my list that way, and it just made a lot of sense. I kept building up the list without really understanding the true value of the list. I mean, it was doing good, and I was happy I'm building a list. It was fun, but it wasn't still wasn't making 50 grand a month like I was on Google by just doing arbitrage. But then I'll tell you what happened. So Brad Callen, I'm sure you know Brad Callen. So Brad launched a software called SEO Elite. Okay, my list at this point was like 10,000 people, and I knew Brad. Brad and I were friends. So Brad's like, I got this cool software. It's coming out, SEO Elite. I'm launching on ClickBank, and I don't know what, man. This is stuff that I do today as biz dev. I didn't realize I was doing back then. So I had this idea. I was like, Brad, I could sell a bunch of this. I have a list, and this and that, blah blah blah. I said, but I want a coupon code. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I want, it's a $250 software. I want you to give it to my people for like 200. I don't remember the numbers, but it was like a coupon code. He's like, oh, I don't know, man. I'll piss off my other people that are going to promote. And I'm like, no, this is what I want. You have to do it for me. And then I was like, and you got to let me release it a day before. I don't know how I talked Brad into all this. Okay. So he said, okay. And so I did a pre-launch without knowing what a pre-launch is. I sent some emails, getting people excited, said this time, this day, you're going to get this. And Troy, I made $36,000 in 12 hours.
That's amazing. That is
so you know what happened is that check came. I get a call on, it was a Friday. I remember I get a call from my dad. All right. I used to live on University, 45 minutes from my house. He's like, you come home right now. I'm like, what the heck happened? He's like, I'm not talking to you on the phone. You come home this very minute. I need you here, and I'm not messing around with you. I was petrified. I'm like, what the hell did I do? My grades were kind of slipping because I didn't care about college. I just assumed, okay, he saw my B minus and he's pissed. So I drove home, and I walk in the house, and I'm like, what's up, dude? Why are you bugging me? I got shit to do. I got work to do. And he's on the phone with ClickBank, and he's like, sit your ass down. And it's called Kinetics or something, right? It's not called ClickBank because he's like, I'm on the phone with, and I didn't know what company. He's like, Kinetics. I'm like, who the hell is that? Or whatever the company's name was. He's like, I want to know right now because the check was for $40-some thousand, and he swore I was drug dealing. He swore I was off running some scams, doing some horrible shit. And on the phone, they're like, sir, we cannot tell you because you are not the person. You're not authorized to call. And he's like, I'm his father. He's yelling and everything. I had to sit him down, show him stuff. And then when he finally got through all of it, and he believed that his son was not doing illegal, fraud, I remember him. He sat back and he's like, it's not fair. And I'm like, what? He's like, it's not fair. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm a nuclear mechanical engineer. I have a master's in that. I oversee 2 nuclear power plants. And you just made that in a day? I make that in 5 months or 4 months. And that was a very momentous. That was when I went home from that and it became real. And I'm like, shit, this email thing is cool. And then it was over. Then everything was about email.
That is a really cool story. I can relate to pieces of it, not in the same drastic way, but it's yeah, when you're starting out, it's just people close to you, they see that amount and they don't believe it for a while. And they continue to not believe it until you are extremely consistent over and over and over. So that's
Troy,
really
they still don't always believe it.
okay. So
I'm
maybe
I'm 20 years in, man, and it's so funny because people will tell me like, you can't do that, and it's so funny to hear someone tell me that, and my wife is there, and she goes, oh crap, and I'm like, why? She's like, no, you're really gonna do it, aren't you? I'm like, hell yeah. Who's gonna believe I can't do something? That's ridiculous. But people still, that's just how people are wired. People don't want to believe you not because they don't believe you, but because once they believe you, they realize their own shortcomings. That's
totally,
why they don't
yeah.
want to believe you. Yeah.
And it's a way to just kind of like justify and like feel good and like think of like, okay, well, they did that, I can't do that, so it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And there's a
Sour grape. Sour grapes.
there's people
Yeah.
that are few and far between that'll see that and they'll go, you know what, that is really inspiring. I want to do that too. And that's where I feel like people really rise to the occasion and break out of a really bad situation, um, and make something amazing out of their life, which is what I really enjoy seeing people do the most. So, from those humble beginnings, how have you built the empire that you've built today?
Oh man. Okay, so can we have some moment of absolute honesty and brutal truths? I chose this year, I said, I'm going to stop being a marketer and start just being human. Troy, it has been hard as, I'm not going to say the word, but it has been short of my wife and my now daughter, who's a month old, it has been the most amazing thing I've ever done. I don't know how to think small. It's a natural inclination, and I have to actually coach myself. So, Troy, there's actually a moment this morning where I realized I caught myself. I'm doing something else. I'm trying to launch another business, and I could see myself leapfrogging. I'm like, dude, just stop. Like, we're gonna start like this first. We're gonna prove it, and then we're gonna. But I gotta go like this. I don't understand. There isn't an in between. So that whole adage of go big or go home is kind of how I function. And that sounds great, and people listen to it and they're like, I'm inspired by you. That's amazing. Well, oh, man, go big or go home. Let me just remind you, you spend a lot of time at home. Like, there's a lot of time that you will fail because it's tough, right? So I always tell people, you don't just win the Olympic gold medal by trying hard. No, you win the Olympic gold medal by being obsessive to a possible point of not being good for you, right? Like, you have to be, that becomes your life. So when I started seeing success, I wanted to conquer the world. I wanted to do big things. I wanted to have freedom, and I wanted to, you know, I think as a kid, what I wanted always was choice. So it's not that I want a private jet or a Lamborghini or a 10,000 square foot mansion. I want to know I can have that. I want to know that if tomorrow if right now I was like, dang, I really want a Lamborghini. And it was burning on me. I can buy it before the day's over today. And I've had that option for years. I haven't bought one yet, but I love the fact that there is nothing my family would want or that I want that I can't provide for. Short of even private jet. If I really want a private jet, I almost bought one last year, and then just towards the end, I was like, it's not a wise decision at the moment. But that feels great. So that the desire to be able to achieve that level of choice was what drove me. I also love building teams, and that's probably what has gotten me to the size that I've gotten to. I have a brilliant team, but it was really difficult to build. Sometimes I joke and I say, gosh, I wish I wasn't in the publishing space because Learn is already at the upper echelon of the publishing space. We're already one of the bigger companies. So to go out and find the right team members that can support a business of this level is very tough because there's not that many publishing companies, right? If I was a SaaS company, dime a dozen. There's so many amazing people out there. But it's been very tough to hire for this. So I spent the last many, many years making a lot of mistakes that are super expensive. I've probably burned about $15 million in testing things and trying things that didn't work. And I'm okay with it. That's the thing. Can you be okay with that? I'm perfectly fine with it. Sometimes I think that 15 million, if I didn't do all these big crazy ideas and was my money I get to keep and invest over a lifetime is worth 300 million. And yet I say that and I'm like, that's okay. Did I learn? Did I enjoy? Was it fulfilling? Am I fulfilled? Yes. Did I give it my all? Did I show up every day 110%? Yes. Awesome. I'm good. So and I understand that that's going to continue to stack, and always it happens. One of my crazy ideas connects, right? And then it explodes. So the way I built this empire was always knowing what the next mountain is that I want to conquer, having that vision, and doing things for the right reason, never doing it for the money. If you do it only for the money, you are going to be miserable. I promise you that, because you're going to lose money many times, and you won't have the psyche to recover from that because you're so obsessed about the money. Whereas I'm doing it for the mission, the fun, the journey. I mean, heck, dude, I made a movie. I'm listed on IMDb as a producer and lead actor. I made a James Bond spoof where I actually did the stunts. I actually blew up a car that was only 20 feet from me with a, fake blew up with a gun. I had a film crew. I had an action director. We did chase scenes. I had a Bond girl. We had this huge fun, and it was the biggest waste of time and money. It didn't convert as a sales video. We had a premiere, red carpet premiere. I was in Bollywood newspapers, in India filming it. I got to, rub shoulders with some of the biggest stars who've ever lived because my concept was so novel. That experience, man, how much is that worth? I don't care if it cost me millions. I can't wait to have my daughter on my lap and I'll be like, this is the movie Daddy made. He was Bond, right? Watch this. That's cool, right? So I do it for that. I do it for the journey and for the experiences. And I think that if people can learn to think like that, they're just going to see much more success and happiness in their life.
I haven't heard somebody spit that much truth in regard to like making money versus experiences and stress and time and all that since Alex Becker. I'm a big fan of his YouTube videos and how he talks about enjoying the process and the money's cool and all, but it's more about that freedom. So thank you for sharing that because people want to hear it. And I could totally relate too. It's just more about like understanding that what you invest today, time and money wise, and that obsession is going to pay out in the future. A lot of people, they quit when it doesn't pay out tomorrow, but it might pay out a month from now, a year from now, a decade from now. Some people just don't see that. And there's a lot of amazing experiences that have a business ROI and a life ROI, and you may not see it right around the corner, but eventually it's coming. So thank you for sharing that. A couple of fun questions that I always like to ask since we're on this topic. What the first question is, what is the best business idea that you've ever had, whether it was financial return or an experience?
Whew. Launches. I've pioneered launches a lot. I think that my ability to handle affiliates is probably, and how I handle like the ideas behind that. I've done so many launches that have done. I think probably in the industry, I've probably done more $5 million+ launches than anyone. I've certainly not done the biggest launches. I mean, we've got some brilliant people, but like Aiden Booth is one of the ones that I always respect because he's consistent and he knows how to launch, and he knows how to do it with the affiliates and the psychology behind it. So I think launches was really it was my launch point, and it supported the company until 2016, and I had done them for 10 years at that point when I burned out on them. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, so when I launched my email startup incubator program in 2013 as a test, oh my God, I don't know how many multi-deca millions we've done with that product, right? But also team, it's hard, man. It's hard for me to be like, there's one idea I did if you ask me which one idea did you do that was the most fun, it was the movie. That was just unique. It was just crazy. It's on YouTube, by the way, guys. Go type in Lethal Commission. At least watch the trailer. It's cool. Lethal Commission trailer. But gosh, best business idea. If I'm being honest, I think it's still inside of me. I don't think I've had that one come out just yet. Like I've got a few I'm working on right now that I think have a good chance of being that.
I really like that. That's the first time anybody's ever answered the question that way. And it reminds me a lot of a quote from Tom Brady. He said he was in when he was at Michigan, he was in the locker room. They won a lot of Big Ten championships at Michigan. And he saw one of the guys that was like the equipment guy, and he had all these rings on. And he said to this guy, he said, "Hey, what's your favorite ring?" And the guy said, "The next one." And Tom said that over and over about his career. And I think that's just a really cool analogy because nobody has ever said it's still inside of me. This is episode 12. So I love to hear it. And I think that's awesome. On the flip side, this one is usually kind of funny, but what is the worst business idea that you've ever had?
So it's not an idea as much as it is a series of decisions. And this is where I said having that obsessive conquer the world side of you can have some major backlash and bad. In 2018, attacked way too many things that are massive at the same time. And it really spiraled for me, made business very difficult, made life difficult, made my health horrible. So I launched this beautiful facility we have. It's a $3.6 million facility that I love to death. And I launched it the exact same month that I launched my virtual platform. Now, here's the thing. I don't know a darn thing about managing real estate, and I'm not technical. Yet I was the leader of those both projects at the same time. So I created a mess, right? So why did I have to launch a 26,000 square foot, $3.6 million facility? Why couldn't the first one be 4,000 or 5,000 square feet? Why couldn't I learn and then grow from there? That has been a big learning lesson of mine that I'm forcing myself to do now, which is like stop always leapfrogging to the end. You gotta go through that. Like, I didn't become an expert at digital marketing by doing a $15 million launch my first time. It was actually my 7th or 8th launch, or maybe 9th, that actually went to do that. So that 1 month, and then my technical platform, we started building it in 2016. And the 3 people that were heading up the building of this platform, neither of the 3 were technical, myself included. I mean, I can't put a web page up right now, like if you asked me to. I have no clue how to do it. So that was the stupidest decision. If you want to do something that you are not good at, you better damn well have someone leading it that is. And that is the most humbling thing I have come to learn, is that I suck at most things, but what I'm amazing at is finding people who don't suck at it. So step aside, bring the right people in. And you know what? Then people say, I don't have the money for it. Well, then go find the money and wait. Do not shortcut it, because you will burn yourself in the future. So launching them at the same time, bad idea. Launching them as big as they were, bad idea. Launching them with me being the leader of both of them, stupid idea. That whole series, I learned more in that first half of 2018 than I have in my entire career together.
That's such good advice, to find people that are good at things that you are not good at. Because mostly people think of business partners, especially when they start out, and it's people who are their friends or who enjoy the exact same thing as them. When reality is, you got to find somebody who enjoys what you don't enjoy and they're good at what you're not good at.
Okay, I
That's
have to
perfect.
say this, man. Yeah, sorry, I have to say this because everyone listening and you, I have to say this. Open your ears and take this advice to heart. This is probably the biggest thing I changed towards the end of 2020 that has starting to show major benefit and made my life better. Do not, and I repeat this, and if you think I'm wrong, fine. You're gonna think I'm right in 3 years. Write it down and follow it if you can. Do not hire for potential. Hire for experience. Do not hire for potential. I don't care that Uncle Sam's daughter, Sally, is really smart and a go-getter. If she hasn't done it, she can't be your first hire. She can't. So if you need someone to lead marketing, find someone who's already led marketing. Find someone who's done that type of marketing. Yeah, it's hard. It's not easy. But when you do that, and then that person can hire the potential, but then they're training that potential. But you, as an entrepreneur and as the head of your organization, you need talent that's already been there and done that so that you can go off and do best what you do. Pay for it. Find it, search for it, pay for it. I won't even think about launching a company anymore until I have that team set. I don't even like consider it anymore.
So a lot of people talk about experience and potential and other factors about hiring. How do you make sure the person has the right fit for your culture, your company culture?
Multiple interviews. So we use a system in the company called a culture index. It's a testing software. And funny, I don't know why it's called that because it has nothing to do with culture. But what it does is so Troy, I've done, this is a party trick. I've actually done this as a party trick. I'm not even joking. So it's a 2-minute quiz. You just have to pick a bunch of words. It's a lot of fun. And out the other end comes this report that's just a bunch of dots. It would mean nothing to you looking at it, but I actually took a 2-day certification class in it, and it's my favorite thing to do now. I can tell you more about yourself than probably anyone who's known you for years personally can. And I've actually sat at parties, because we're not supposed to use it for that. It's only supposed to be professional. But I've actually sat at parties and been able to look at someone and tell them, you're miserable because of blah, 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 blah. And they'll be like, how? And I'm like, it's right here. It comes out in the data. So we use that to be able to tell what the personality of a person is. So before we're looking for even a match with the culture of the company, which is highly important, we're looking to see, does your personality match the necessity of that job? Because if you're hiring like an operational person versus a salesperson or versus a marketing person, those are very different skills that you need. And I don't want to put a square in a circle, right? I don't want to put a circle in a circle. So we look at that. Next is during interviews. You're going to find out from someone during interviews if they're going to fit your culture or not. So we have a minimum 3 interview requirement. The first interview is always going to be with the manager, right? Well, so actually 3.5. So the first interview is really 15 minutes. Our recruiting team just going to see like, all right, is this the right fit? If it passes that, they go to the manager. The manager does a one-on-one. If the manager likes it, then it goes to 3 people on the team that would be working with them. If they like it, then it goes to 3 random people, 3 other people in other teams. And that is all a culture check right there. And last but not least, if you're hiring in person and you really want to know how someone is, like their personality, don't do the interview in an office. Meet them for coffee. Get them outside of get them in an external environment. You'll see very quickly who they really are.
How many people are on your team?
I think we're close to 80 now.
That's amazing. So to kind of piggyback off what you said earlier, you are running Learn. You're also running Singal.org. You have a team of 80 people. In your brain, there's a million ideas going on, and it's very hard to not follow all of them. You have a wife, you have a daughter now. Congratulations. How do you manage all those things? And like, what are some things that you've been telling yourself lately to try and stay on track, but not do too much and burn yourself out?
Oh man, all right. This is one of those where I'll be like, do what I say, but not necessarily what I do. I'm still mastering it. I think one of the curses of being an entrepreneur, like I always say, there's like entrepreneurs and then there's entrepreneurs. I'm like the first one. That's like, it's all I think. It's all I do. People say, what do you do for fun outside of work? I'm like, I hate that question because why can't work be fun? I love what I do. I do more of what I do for fun. I'm sorry. Like I have hobbies. My wife and I, trust me, we binge watch TV shows. I got plenty of time for my family. It's one area I've always put priority on. My wife and I have a superb relationship. She's part of the business, but she doesn't work for the business. She actually handles all of our investments. Like we're like a great team. But to answer your question, I made big changes in how I approach life and business and time management in 2020. Here, I'll give you something that happened this morning. And this is a true story, and I hope my team's not watching, so they don't hear it. So we had a team call at 10 a.m., and yesterday I had a rough day. It was like all day. Like rough meaning it was a long day. It wasn't rough. It was just a lot going on. I barely got to see my daughter. So I spent like maybe 15 minutes with her, 20 minutes with her, and it was burning me, man. I did not like it when I was going to bed yesterday, and I was like, yeah, I'm noting this, and this doesn't happen again anymore for me. And I remember talking to my wife, and I'm being like, I'm not happy. And she's like, listen, it's okay. You've been like literally with her for, sometimes it happens. I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't feel right to me. I don't want to do that again. So, and most of the time I did was with her. She was sleeping, right? So I didn't get to like actually play with her or whatever. So this morning I'm on a team call, and I'm in the office. It's 10:15, and my wife comes into my home office. She knocks the door, and she comes in, and she's like, Ava's awake. And I was like, what? And I'm like on a team call, but my part of the team call is over. And I'm like, we do this once a month. Like this is the team call. But I'm like, but then I'm going to be out of my house again today until like 7 or 8. So immediately I was just like, I messaged my right hand and I'm like, take over if and in case something comes up, my part's done anyways. Boom. I ran so quick to play with her. And to me, I took a note of that later and I patted myself on the back because I was like, that was me physically putting into action some rules I've set up for myself. And I was really proud of myself. And I started doing that in 2020. So I put together some more tactical things that people can listen to. So, because that doesn't really help answer the question that you asked me. I am not a morning person. You do not want to talk to Anik in the morning. I get up 8, 9, I sleep late. I don't do calls before 12. Simple rule. Unless something is on fire, I'm not talking to you before 12. And that has made my life, that right there, that rule alone made my life much better. I don't do 10 a.m. calls. I don't want to wake up in a rush. I don't like it. I delegate the crap out of my life. I love it. So do you know I have a mission going on right now, Troy, and I'm tracking myself every week. I want to run my entire business from this right here. I never want to need a laptop or a desktop. Last week I tracked 3 hours. I got it down so that I only needed 3 hours on desktop, laptop. That makes me fully mobile. It makes me fully, able to do what I want, when I want, where I want. So I work from about 12 to 6. I'm minimizing the number of calls I do, so I'm spending more of my time in creative space. I don't really let myself, so the other rule I set up, which I'm kind of trying to be diligent about, is one company a year. So if I want to set up a new company, one a year. I won't do more. So that makes me be very selective. Like even this year, I'm kind of battering a bunch of ideas. It makes me be more strategic because I can't launch everything. And I've been good about it. Last year I launched one company. This year I'm looking at one. And I loved another one so much this year. I was hitting heads between two. And I was like, I can't pick. You know what I did? The second one's launching January, the first week of next year. But that's been good, right? It's forcing me to like make these rules that I'm like really setting up, which is like daughter comes first, family comes first. And so the last piece of it I'll tell you is I had an idea that I loved that I wanted to launch this year. And I actually am getting a chance to come into an existing company. It's such a great deal. But the team's not there. Like I know what part I bring to it, but there's like a key position that's not there. So I've actually told a person no. Like to taking equity in this company, and I was like no, because the team's not there. So last piece of it is if I want to have an idea or if I want to launch something, the team's got to be there. Everyone, that's the most important thing. And once you start to set these kinds of rules in place, you start to actually run very operationally, and all of a sudden this is how VCs work. This is how hedge fund investors work. They don't use emotions. They use checklists, right? And that's how you protect against risk. So dude, I'm becoming kind of robotic. If I'm going to say the way I can get all this stuff done in life is I'm becoming robotic. I've got procedures and things. Sticking to them is the tough part. And I'm getting better about that with every year that passes.
That's a great overview of the whole process, because when you decide to become an entrepreneur, it's like you have to go in way deeper than you ever thought you would and change your boundaries in terms of how hard you're willing to work. And then kind of at the peak, you get so into it that you start sacrificing some personal things that you used to enjoy. And then you're like, holy cow, I'm too far. I have to take note when I do something that I don't like and slowly remove and delegate. And just kind of make peace with yourself, because there's nothing that anybody should value more than peace. And I think that
So
go
could
ahead.
not agree with you more. Hard to do though in the beginning. So everyone, you're
Very.
not going to have peace when you're starting off as an entrepreneur. That's okay. But remember I told you I wanted to fight for choice. That was what I've always wanted in my life. Another example of that is yesterday. I got a little burned out on work. I had a webinar coming. I was a little off centered. So I called and my wife was like, no, well, Ava's sleeping. So I was like, all right. So I decided to go on a 20, 30-minute drive. I love cars. I love my car. So I was like, I'm just going to drive I just want to clear my head. But I had something coming up and I was like, no, I choose to go do this. I'm going to cancel that meeting because I have the freedom to do that. And I did. Now, the funny thing is 15 minutes into my drive, my wife called and said, we need groceries and we need things. And I was like, oh, well, family comes first, right? So it's like, you start to set these rules up, man, and it becomes very like programming, if, and then, and when, and life starts to kind of take a play and you enjoy it. Last thing I'll say to this is a really cool story. So when I was in college, I was reading a magazine called Business 2.0. You're probably too young to even know that magazine. It was an awesome magazine. It had an article about Mark Cuban. I'm a big Mark Cuban fan. And he had just become a billionaire, bought the Dallas Mavericks, and they gave his email address. They actually gave his email address. And they're like, if you email him, he emails you back. I'm like, bullshit, right? Like, no way. So I actually emailed him. I used my college email, so I don't have it anymore. And he emailed me back 2 hours later. And my email said, hey, Mark, I'm a budding entrepreneur, super, ambitious. I'm working on 5 ideas right now at one time. What's the one advice you would give me to help me become successful? And I remember his exact reply, and I'm still waiting to see him. I'm actually probably going to see him soon because I've become such good friends with Damon John. And I want to tell him this story because he replied to me, he said, sorry, kid, got to keep it short. On a flight to the Dallas Mavericks game, here's my advice. Drop 4, focus on 1.
That's great.
Hated that email and hated him for a year after that because I thought he was BSing. And today, the advice I give to my students is stop. Pick the one. It's going to take some time for it to work. Don't give up 3 weeks into it. If it speaks to your heart, you like that. There's a gazillion ways to make money. Find the one that speaks to you, that you enjoy. Find the one you enjoy working on while you're still failing. That's your road. But don't give up on it, man. Keep going.
That's so true. And I feel like a lot of people, beginners, they're very worried about like, should I pick this or that or this thing or that thing? And it's like the truth is you really can't go wrong as long as you enjoy it and there's a market for it. So anybody who's struggling, just keep that in mind. There are many viable options, not just one that your friend told you about. So
Totally. Listen, you
no,
want to buy a car, you don't go to your neighbor and say, hey, what car do you have? I'm just going to drive the same car. You never do that. You test drive, you look, you see what you want. Do you have 4 kids, 3 kids, 2 kids, no kids? You want a sports car? Like you go through this whole evaluative process, right? For every decision we make in our life. Why is it that when it comes to setting up a business, we feel like it's okay to just do what Tom, Dick, and Harry are doing and just copy them? And then we wonder why we're miserable and not succeeding. Like it doesn't work.
totally. Now, the last question I like to ask is on the theme of the podcast. It's called Secrets of Scale. And you're good at a lot of things and you enjoy many things: ads, funnels, affiliates, email, the list goes on. What is one final secret to your ability to scale to where you are today?
You're going to make me pick a one?
Just one.
Team. The team around you. If you had said secret to making millions, I might pick a different answer, but you said scale, and that's a very specific word. Team. Getting the right people around you early. I always hear the answer, I don't have any money. It's not true. That's a thought process. You are not allowed to hire less experienced, less qualified people because you think you don't have enough money. From day one, the right team. Have the right people. Know what you're good at. Know what you stink at. Be humble. Let other people who are great at what you stink at do what they're good at. Get out of their way and let the team take over. That's the only way to bring scale. You yourself can only carry a company so far, no matter how amazing you are. Tom Brady cannot win Super Bowls if he's the only one against 11 people on the other side. He cannot do it. Well, maybe he can, but he's one of a few guys, all right? But you know what I'm trying to say. So team for me has been the whole thing. Now with team comes other challenges. So you will learn to do those. But scale, true scale. Like I want to build an operation doing 100 million a year. Can't do it myself. I have to have people that are brilliant.
I love it. And for the people that are like, but wait, you mentioned secrets to making millions. Where can everybody find you to learn more about how you do that? I know obviously you've got to learn.
Yeah.
And you also, yeah, just tell us a little bit more about where people can find you and learn more.
Yeah,
I actually
sure.
Googled your Facebook group recently. I think that one's new and I love it so far.
Yeah. So there's a lot of places to connect with me. I've gotten really, I'm having a lot of fun with social media finally this year. Was another big part of mine is part of me like wanting to be more open with people getting to know me. So on Facebook, you can go type in one word, type in inside my head. One word, inside my head. And you'll see a little South Park character looking thing of me. That's my group. No admins, no team members. That is me. I'm approving you in the group. I'm approving the comments. I'm reading. I'm writing. It's me. No copywriters. You get the raw me. I post personal stuff. I post rants. I post marketing knowledge. Find me on all the different social media platforms. I started TikTok now. I'm blowing up on Instagram, which is so freaking awesome right now. And Facebook, I'm all out my name basically. But also you can go to insidemyhead.com, and I'm starting a personal newsletter there. I've had it. I stopped it. I'm going to rekindle it in a couple weeks here. Learn.com, of course, for all of our courses. But if you ask me to pick the one secret to being able to make millions, funnels, copy and funnels.
Perfect.
If you have a great funnel, you can't not make money. And you know, I'm so glad Russell Brunson got out there and is shepherding that message because it's so true. I love his saying. He says, "You're only one funnel away." It's a damn truth. You're only one funnel away.
It is true. So, Anik, once again, thank you. I genuinely appreciate you, and it's awesome that you're able to come here. And I know a lot of people are excited, not just for the live version, but for the recording, which is on YouTube. And for anybody who's kind of new to this, if you'd like to attend live in the future, the sospodcast.com is where you can register. Again, I'm with Anik Singal today. I'm Troy Erickson from emaillistmanagement.com, and I appreciate all of you coming on today, and we'll see you next week.